you're one of the best in the world, it's the first thing every entrepreneur has to do before they can come to the realization that I'm not going to get beat up by price or whoever else is competing for the business. I want my customers to pay me for who I am and what we bring to the table. That's not going to be the lowest price bid.
All right, folks, welcome back to the High Voltage Business Builders podcast. Thank you so much for your viewership, for listening, for your communications, your comments, your likes, even your snide ones, the ones you don't like. I don't care. It helps me beat big tech. And thanks to you and the listeners, we are now a globally top 5% rated podcast. So thanks. Hopefully today we'll continue with that great message that's been going from so many guests so far, talking today about growth and mindset and the entrepreneurial journey. If you're in that step, if you're thinking about it, if you're wanting to get started, I brought a guest on today who knows firsthand what it means to grow, build a business, and understand the intricacies of the emotional cycle of change that goes through this process. So Solomon, let's get into this today. What do you say?
Thank you so much, Neil. Thanks for having me. Super excited.
Yeah. So what's on your heart today, man? What is it that you want the audience to know?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think at the end of the day, every single one of us are called to do something, right? Like, whether it's starting an e-commerce store, being an entrepreneur, being the number two in a company, if that's what you're supposed to do, it's literally figuring that out, that purpose. And when you study a lot of these top performers, as soon as they figure out what their purpose is, all of a sudden life, starts to fall into place.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're feeling like you're not in place. So I don't know. I think I would urge entrepreneurs, and leaders who are listening to figure out, like, do they really feel, like they're in the right spot at the right time?
Yeah, that's tough, really, at the end of the day. I mean, isn't it something you have to do before you can actually understand where you fit into it?
Right. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs do the same thing. We try different things to figure out what's working. What do we feel more comfortable doing? What do we enjoy the most? I think it's the right thing to do, but not trying and testing different things is probably not going to help us figure it out. I mean, I've gone through so many iterations of what it is that I want to share with the world before I decided that I want to go on podcasts and share. You know what I mean? It's like, until then, you feel like you're not ready. I'll be honest. You feel like you haven't figured it out yet yourself. And I could say the same thing about you too, Neil, because, not only do you have your professional life, your personal life as well, that we've gotten to know each other a little bit, is inspiring. And you really, truly feel what you're doing is adding tremendous value in the contribution that we're bringing to the world. Like that's amazing.
Even if it's taking care of chickens on the homestead, right?
Yeah, well, chicken, roosters, you name it. But the fact of the matter is you're doing something that you feel truly is you know what I mean? Like, that that's the right thing to do. And that's the part I'm talking about. We help entrepreneurs generate businesses, and that they went on and they'll probably exit, but the fact of the matter is in that journey, they need a partner to help them, or else they'll never reach that milestone. I mean, they'll reach it. It'll just be much more miserable. So we don't, I like to use the word Sherpas on a mountain journey. It's not our expedition. We're just their Sherpa, leading them through the right things to do, the right tactics, hey, stay out of trouble. This is a really deadly area. We don't want to be here. And that's precisely what you do as well, to kind of the things that you and I shared about. Yeah. It's their journey at the end of the day, but you're going to guide them through the right process, whether it's professional services or coaching or course or whatever it is. Our real job is to figure out, how do we lead them to where they're trying to go at the end of the day? That's their mission. That's their calling. You know what I mean? It's so interesting to be part of that.
Yeah. And that could just be your ownership of a business and changing your tune. I was on a cool podcast the other day called Fire the Man. And I was like, well, that's actually what I did. I borrow that phrase now a lot since being on their podcast, because I actually love it. You should check it out. It's a great podcast for anybody listening on here called Fire the Man. And it was really just about what was the instigator behind the action in which you fired the man from your life, or whatever situation you may be in. Most people are not serial entrepreneurial people from birth, built into families that are entrepreneurs. We all have a certain story, a walk, a place somewhere where we just, as I said, burn the boats, but not the bridges. Where was your moment in time?
So it was starting pretty early. Graduated college. I knew I wanted to be doing something business. Being the own boss it was not like the most exciting thing, because I didn't know what it was, but I knew that where I worked, I had ideas. I was coloring outside the lines. I was, kind of like told, like, hey, stick with your thing. You don't need to worry about this, or you don't need to worry about that. I was pretty young too, don't get me wrong. But my curiosity was pretty out there. So what I what I did is I built kind of like websites at a Panera Bread on a Saturday for I don't remember what small business it was. They really liked it and they wanted to pay me thousands of dollars. I said, well, I think I got me a business here, which will pay me way more than my paycheck in, college at 20 years old. And I can get 10 of those in a month and I'll be way better and call my own shots. Of course, that getting the 10 of them a month is a lot harder than it looks. But at the time when websites are just getting started, people didn't even have like a .com domain name. It's like 19 years or 17 years ago. So I got fortunate, I would say, and also it was self-taught. So I fired the man by saying, you know what, I'm going to go this route. I feel much more comfortable doing that. Also, I was extremely naive. Today, I would be much more stressed out and worried and exhausted. And what about my kids? What about this? And, at the time I had nothing. I didn't even have a car I had to worry about. So it was like a $300 payment at best, It was like,
those are the days, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Where can you get a $300 payment on a car today?
Agreed. But it was not expensive by any means, So
it's your personal
so I was like, hey,
as I like to refer to it. Is your personal GoFundMe was just get out there and hustle and build websites and, figure out how to get it done, right?
Right. And then we built it into an agency and we started to serve customers. And then it's interesting because when we started to build websites, people wanted websites. They were paying a lot of money for it. But then a couple months later, Neil, I would ask them like, hey, Neil, how's your website going? They're like, dude, it didn't do anything for me. I don't know what you guys did, but like there was no business behind it. I thought, we're going to get all this massive traffic and
if you build
the
it,
first
they
website
will
on the internet.
Just because it's out there, why didn't they show up, man?
I mean, it was like, I was like, well, I was promoting my website. So things were working for me. People were filling out the form. They were doing anything. And they didn't get anything, obviously. So we started to become more of a lead generation and customer acquisition business because our customers at the end of the day want growth. I have a workshop later today. It's called the growth formula. We built a formula where we can predict how they're going to generate more business as a result of it, working on their basically demand generation, if that makes sense, to get them the results that they're looking for. But that's 17 years later. At the time, we knew what we were doing as a creative business is not going to cut it. We wouldn't be in business today if we hadn't pivoted to say, look, we're not going to build pretty websites, although we had really amazing graphic designers and web designers on staff. But our customers wanted the phone to ring. That's the small business saying. Yeah. I heard it from a plumbing business yesterday. Saw him and the phone's not ringing enough. I'm like, hey, to this day, phone's pretty important. So I guess I did the right thing, right? By pivoting to a company that drives the leads and their opportunities and their sales and being measured against their success rather than being measured against how many hours I put in or,
Well, and let's unpack that. Basically, you found a need, you filled the need for the time, you listened to your customers' opportunities and complaints and strengths and weaknesses, and you changed an offer up in the presence of them and literally offered them something more and something they might need better. Right. And you simply gave them more of what they wanted, right? Which isn't that just this in a nutshell, no matter what business you run?
It absolutely is. Sometimes we feel like we're in the business of doing, pavers, but we're actually building a driveway for people to drive in and out of their house, right? Like we take the thing that we do very literally because we're in the weeds of it. We see that, but we don't realize that we're putting roofs over their heads or whatever it is. We're not just building bricks and houses. So the same exact thing happens for us today. We're not building websites if it's not tied to leads or sales or some sort of a demand generation or demand capture activity. We wouldn't recommend them to create ebooks if it didn't drive direct leads, top of funnel, middle of funnel, whatever it is. Anything that we do is tied to, hey, what are you going to get as a result of this? And is that one of the reasons that you hired me in the first place? And if yes, we'll do it. If not, we're not doing it. Doesn't matter. What the idea is really tied to what we call the growth formula. The reason we want to do that is that's the only reason we're getting paid anything.
Well, there's something you said there that I think anybody listening to this, business, real estate, financing, e-commerce related, agency, et cetera, when you said you weren't actually selling pavers, you were giving people access to their house. You very succinctly turned something, I think, for your natural language that I really want to draw out because not everybody sees that naturally. Like that's a learned trait behavior of your experience to come to the realization that you're not selling the pavers, you're selling the experience and the outcome. of the experience, how it feels to drive
Absolutely.
into my house, right?
Yeah, and I typically, when I coach entrepreneurs, I say the same thing, because you can get caught up in the commodity world. Oh, it's just Facebook ads. Oh, it's just Google ads. I can get that for cheaper somewhere else. Oh, it's just Shopify. Come on, it's $30 a month or whatever it is. Technically, it's just Shopify. However, the way that we're going to be helping you, or the way that we would run your ads, or whatever it is, it's significantly different, right? It's at the end
Yeah.
of the day, you can buy these things yourself from Home Depot and go build your own house. Why don't we do that? They won't, because they know they can't do that. At the end of the day, it is the same thing. Yes, it's
Yeah.
just more concrete. Why not pour it in? However, the way that you're going to be building this house is something that is going to be scalable, predictable, measurable, repeatable. That's the real reason why we're in business, right? And a lot of entrepreneurs probably listening today too get caught up in getting beat up by our prospects, or suspects, whatever you want to call it, lowering our prices rather than saying, look,
Yeah.
this is truly a non-commodity service. If you just want the lowest price person, Neil, I'm not your guy.
Yep.
Because you go ahead and you can get that done, I don't know, wherever it is that your business is. And so having that trust in what you do is truly unique, and you're one of the best in the world. It's the first thing every entrepreneur has to do before they can come to the realization that I'm not going to get beat up by price or whoever else is competing for the business. I'm like, let them have it. I don't care. I want my customers to pay me for who I am and what we bring to the table, and our 17 years of experience.
Yeah.
That's not going to be the lowest price bid.
Right. No, it's very smart. It's understanding what your value is and then not compromising on that value. One of the things we discuss in the e-commerce world about building products and brands, there's a lot of people who can sell products. They can flip them, they can arbitrage them, they can just create Me Too products.
Right.
And, we ran into a conversation yesterday where a friend of mine knows a business out of China that wants to sell. And in that process, he's like, nobody really wants to buy them because they're a Chinese originated business, but they're doing 72 million a year. And I'm like, well, because they're commodity shipping products and have an opportunity to create that pipeline, and gotten very smart at it, where a lot of sellers can't do that. But at the end of the day, it's just commoditizing products. And so many people see that in the e-com world, and they see it in the lead and the digital world a lot too. And considering the leads to be commodities, right? And in the world of qualifying people to work with Voltage, if they're interested in working with us, I always look at them and say, okay, I'm not looking for thousands of leads. I'm not needing thousands of people to do this. I'm looking for 5 to 7 people I feel are qualified. I'm looking for the quality level.
Agreed.
It's just like you, 17 years of doing this in business. I'm not going to compromise what I know is possible and what needs to be done to make this work. And I need to know that you're going to fit in this and actually get in the boat and row, as opposed to just yelling at us and saying, well, why isn't this working? Because you're not doing anything. And that's why it's not working.
Right. And you also, when you and I chatted, you said like, hey, if you do the thing that it says,
Yes.
you will get guaranteed success every single time. But you have the formula. It's the same exact thing.
Yeah. And the guaranteed success is the outcome of whatever the person perceives the value of it is to them. My level of success will not necessarily be their level of success. And many times the success could just look like actually completing the process and seeing something happen positively, even if it isn't, Lambro life-changing kind of thing. They are on the process. They're through the gates of success. Each step in the gating of success, and you used the mountain earlier, I always say 3 feet. If they've taken a 3-foot step, they can look back and see where they came from. And every 3 feet they're going up the mountain, they're not veering off, into the crevasses or down the hill. And they got enough oxygen literally to help themselves get to the top of the mountain. So little successes build on top of that. Little bricks build mountains and walls and that kind of stuff. So it's just a matter of what you're saying the same thing. You got to look at the quality and control of your offer and who you're providing, and then simply say, you know what, we're not a good fit for this. It's not for you necessarily. I can't help everybody, right?
Absolutely. There's a lot of prospects out there, but not all of them are qualified as what we try to do. Because at the end of the day, we can't just say we're going to drive leads. Like you said, we get credit on, did that turn into an opportunity, in a B2B example?
Yeah.
And is there an, when is that likely to close? If we as a marketing team doesn't look at that, we're just driving traffic and doing all this stuff, which sounds great, but our customers at the end of the day is looking for results and growth. So we need to tie ourselves to opportunities in the CRM system. We can't say they're going to close or not, but hey, we got you somebody who's way more than just a lead, took a call with you. You put down, this is a possible opportunity, put a value amount and an estimated close date. I think I'm good with that. Like if somebody could do that for me, I'll be very happy. And that's exactly, that's where we hold ourselves to, right? Like that's
Very
our
true.
minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I believe the outcome of this and just listening isn't just necessarily about your skills as an agency and a lead gen and fulfillment. It's understanding the offer, who you serve, why you serve them, what you're
Right.
putting in purpose, and then the byproduct of those positive things and knowing who you're going to serve and can help comes the profit, right? Which is what I enjoyed about our conversation and what you're, just continuing to reverberate, on this call is that integrity in selling, literally, which you see this happening a lot with people. Oh, sure, I can do that. I can do that. Here's, $5,000 a month. I'll do that for you. I'll take over your agency. I'll take over your leads or whatever. And 2 months into that, you're like, and now what's happening? Like you're not
Right.
doing anything better than I could do for myself. And then they have so much of turnover in that type of stuff. But the mindset and the
Right.
framework I'm going after applies to anybody in business, real estate, lead gen, consulting, owner, investor, entrepreneur, business, e-commerce builder. It's all kind of in the same framework. And it all really gets down to the things that you figured out and your mindset and
Right.
then your purpose ultimately reach the objective that you're after.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I wanted to share too is what I was sharing earlier, which is the growth formula. A lot
Yeah.
of people listening today, they're trying to figure out, hey, how do I grow this thing? I'm off to a great start. I figured it out, but I'm stuck or I can't reach my certain goals, whatever that revenue is per month. So we broke it down into really two categories, Neil. It's very simple, very straightforward. Where a lot of people don't spend their time on is figuring out how do they grow their business predictably. And just doing it over and over, we kind of realized that our top customers, they broke it down into two things, or we helped them break it down into two things. One is acquisition, which is acquisition of leads. If you're real estate, if it's, flipping, whatever those inventory homes are, buying them up. And the second part is retention. How do we retain that lead, or making sure that when they're ready to make that buying decision, how do they pick us as opposed to somebody else? Of course, if it's the right fit. Or if we close, like you said, clients, $10,000 worth of clients, how do we make sure that they're going to keep paying every single year or every single month or whatever it is that you get paid? These two things has become kind of like our cornerstone for every single client, every single campaign. And we break this down even further into demand generation for those people that are struggling on the acquisition side.
Yeah.
And capturing the demand of the marketplace if they're already, doing well, for instance. So a lot of businesses, right, like they go in and try to go run ads, or they try to go fund the 5K run, or they're trying to spend all this money on newspaper. I don't know what it is, postcards, TV. The challenge is it going to create demand, or are you going to capture the demand already exists in the marketplace?
Yeah.
The way we found it to work every single time, if somebody's coming to us and say, hey, I want business right now, like this month, I wouldn't go try to create demand, because that might not be this month outcome. Like you said, it might be 6 months before that person decides that this is the right product. I have the budget, I have the problem, I have the
Yes.
need, I want to
Yes.
buy.
Yep.
Well, there's tens of thousands of people that are already at the bottom of funnel right now, but we need to get in front of those people with our brand, our message, which could be, you and I do Google Ads a lot, search for a particular term. And if you show up, that's bottom of funnel, right? You're going to get that person who's already looking for a quote, estimate, whatever it is in the B2B world. But it could be e-commerce as a product, very specific keywords, sizes, measurements, 100 by 100, 6 feet cable, whatever it is. Now they're actually looking for something. Recently we were shopping for a 6K camera. All the time I search for 6K camera, what pops up? 4K camera. I'm like, no. We need the 6K. That's very bottom of funnel. Like, I just need to know who's got the
You have
cheapest
very
price.
specific outcome, very specific need. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. That's capturing the demand. So guess what? The best of the best brands who were doing ads with, the product feed with their prices published got my sale. The ones that are there never optimized their website or never ran, product listing ads.
Yeah.
I'm not there. I have no idea that they exist. I'm not going to go through 17 pages of Google. I don't want it, right?
And the window didn't have to convince you the difference between 4 and 6K and inform you as a buyer when you were already in demand mode. They just needed to capture.
Or the 6K, right? And all of these, it's kind of the exact same thing our customers are doing.
Yeah.
Our customers, like, they know they have this problem. They want to fix it. And you could create Facebook page content all day, Instagram stories, but that is not going to yield to small short-term business, which I'm not a short-term guy by any means, but we got to fix that part before we go and start telling the whole world.
Yeah.
And most of the time what we do, and we hire a marketing person or an intern or whatever, they're like, oh, we're going to make a carousel posts and we're going to do this and some stories. And Neil, I took all your budget and there's 17 pieces of content. I hope it works out really well.
Right.
But it's not going to work out really well because whoever's going to see it, they don't even know what they're seeing because they don't even have a problem.
Well, but that's taken from other marketers out there like Gary Vee and others who are like, yeah, just pump out 40,000 pieces of content. You know, it's a spam marketing kind of maneuver on the social media, and you'll get somebody to do that. You just have to create more content. You know, get up every day, content. And I'm like, oh, well, that's a lot of that's a lot of tactics. Where's the strategy?
It is. We do that second. Once we've taken care of those bottom of funnel people,
once you know here,
then we can take a breather and say, look, if they're searching for 6K every single day, 10 hours when we're all awake, in the office or online, we better show up so we can help that customer, that prospect with live chat, phone answering, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If we just did that for businesses, I promise you, like, they're going to see way more success as a business. Again, coming from that web design guy who's a lead gen guy, I have to get the customers that are fixing their pavers right now, not tell the world like, hey, we can do paving, right? Like that's the same challenge. A lot of people go into thinking.
Very much so. And it translates backwards to any type of offer that you're making in any kind of business you're making, from, again, real estate onwards to lead gen to e-commerce. In our world, it's making sure the image is explained immediately what's in demand for that person as quickly as possible. And then maybe the title, they're going to look at it and say, oh, this is, I was making this joke the other day. It's like, well, what's heavy duty to you? Okay, what's heavy duty in Europe is not what's heavy duty in America, right? Because in America, it's like, well, I need to know if this holds up to 300 pounds. Why? Because we're in America. And that's heavy duty now, right? So heavy duty in Europe might be somebody who's like 170 pounds, 200 pounds. So when we get these specifics and optimize those in, of course, the conversions move a lot faster as you get straight into the intent of the buyer who's looking for that product just in time, that 4K, that 6K, that, heavy duty 300-pound thing. And people miss that. They don't stop and really think through it. So this is the message I'm hoping that resonates well today with anybody who's listening, is really stop, put your mind into the solution, put your mind into the person, and think about what they need and what they want and what's going to be the impact and solution they're driving for, and then answer those questions in their mind. And you will watch your conversion go up on any place, anywhere, in any kind of business, literally.
Absolutely. And then the second side being retention, the same exact thing. Once they landed on it, maybe there's a form fill, there's an opt-in, whatever it is that you have. What are we doing so that they can pick us when the right time comes, if it's not right now, or retaining of the customer? So this is where all else, marketing automation, CRMs, email drip, everything you could think of, text messaging your customers, sending them things on their birthday, like everything that we've ever been taught has to be dealt with, because a lot of times what happens is that you came across this really awesome offer and then you're like, oh, great, fantastic. But we're also seeing 7,000 other offers today.
Right.
I'm not going to remember next week what that thing was. Right. Exactly. Amazon doesn't do a great job saying, oh, that was the product you looked at. They're going to show me everything I could be buying right now, not whatever I looked at, 2 weeks ago. So we as a business owner,
that's actually about to change with the Cosmo rollout. Guys, go check out the other podcast if you want to know more about that, because that it's actually going to change into a more minority style soon in terms of the Minority Report. If you've ever seen that movie where it tracks you with advertising or whatever, Amazon's Cosmo started doing all that. So they're changing that because the market is changing. To your point, very astutely,
right?
It's changing because it just didn't meet the needs. It was too broad previously, but now they're going to start focusing in on just your demands and your needs and only showing you what's relevant.
So as a business owner, if you have an e-commerce store, you have a real website, are you capturing those forms of people that are not ready to buy? Because again, that's bottom of funnel.
Yep.
What about nurturing those? And how are we going to nurture it? Not just sending more emails that say, buy my stuff, which is, again, the wrong thing to do. Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't assume everybody that's coming to our world is ready to buy the stuff, even if they're the right fit.
Correct.
You got to really, truly nurture them. And today, I think that's an art that is a lost art, nurturing people, because we're all been taught that email marketing delivers $38 for every dollar. So what do? Put more offers in front of people because we want to get the $38 ROI
So you
rather
spam them
than
more.
$1.
Right.
Exactly. And so like today we're having this workshop is because that's our way of nurturing them. Hey, you learned about this, the growth formula. You want to explore this for yourself. Show up to a workshop, learn more, sit there and do some of those exercises for your business. And then at some point you might say, gee, like that's a lot of work. I need some help.
Yeah.
Then maybe it makes sense. But that is a great way to nurture because I'm like doing a sales call without doing a sales call, right? Like I don't want to be doing 40 sales calls. I'd rather have 40 people for an hour and we do one giant sales call.
That's right.
It's not a sales call, but right. That's a perfect example of how to scale your time. But this way, I'm nurturing my elites. I'm not asking them to buy anything. But at the end of the day, they're taking the exercises, really evaluating their business growth and saying, gee, like I have some huge gaping holes in my funnel that I might want to get fixed. But it might not be the biggest problem right now because they have other problems, labor shortage or whatever else that they're dealing with, cash flow issues, maybe. But at some point, they're going to say, you know what? It's now time to revamp my strategy. I hope that I'm going to be the guy that they think of because of how much time I've invested with them.
That's right.
Right? Like it's the same thing that you're doing with your podcast is that if you drop so much value in every single episode, when it's time to implement some of the strategies, guess who they're going to think of? Neil.
Hopefully that's the goal. It's what we call the know, like, and trust relationship, right? I need to know about, you and what you're about. I need to like what you're about or what you stand for. And then I will determine whether or not I trust what you're saying. And usually that just comes with authoritarian time and market and building authority and attraction, which is something I see you doing very well. And I can see it on the podcast today that you understand it very well, as well as the application of your growth strategies and the growth hack. I appreciate that so much. Is there a question I didn't ask you yet or something we didn't cover on the call that you wanted to go over?
Not really. I mean, like I said, for me, this whole thing in being in podcasts is dropping value as much as I can for every single entrepreneur out there. Yes, it's unlikely. 99% of the time, they're always asking, do you have a book? Do you have this? Do you have that? I'm like, listen, I don't have anything that I want from your audience other than hopefully they'll bookmark this episode and come back and listen to it later. If we can do that for our audience, we've done well. Does that make sense?
That's what we're doing today. I appreciate it. Doing a wonderful job, man. And I love it. Last question for you. The thing I like to understand about people and who they are to some degree is this question I'm about to ask you in relevance to if there is somebody in my network or somebody you'd like to meet that's alive today, who would you want to meet? I'm going to have 15 minutes with them. We could tag it on there. It might be in our, ability to communicate with them.
Yeah. I mean, it's hilarious. Right before this, I had 5 minutes. I had to drop a PDF to this computer for the workshop later, the PDF workbook.
Okay.
They're like, we got the podcast in 5 minutes. I said, I can do a lot of damage in 5 minutes. Let me go get the PDF. I'll put it in box. We're going to download it. It's 5 minutes. And I said, I could do a lot of things in 5 minutes. And I said, Elon could do even more things in 5 minutes than I can in 5 minutes. So I was going to say, we always measure our outcome with what Elon can do in 5 minutes. What
it seems to be the new thing coming along, right? The guy runs like 5 companies, right?
I do this with my engineers. This is really, really interesting. So I tell them, like, listen, guys, every other day, he ships about 6 Starlink satellites to the sky every couple of days. I mean, you could go to their website and see how many satellites they deployed today, and then the next one and the next one. And then I say, you guys are, coding our app. It's ClickX. They're coding these apps. I'm like, what are you shipping? Because every 3 days, he's sending 6, 7, 8, 9. He's got almost 2/3 of every near the Earth satellites is Starlink. I'm like, that's what happens if you just consistently execute
day by day,
to the T.
Yep.
Right? Like he's built this massive communication company while we're all like chilling, watching Netflix, enjoying life. So I remind our team, and let me tell you, just that changed the way they work. They're executing like crazy. They're pushing out code all the time. I mean, of course, we have bugs here and there, but like the fact of the matter is we're not hesitant. We're not waiting for perfection. You could just go to Starlink's website and see what's coming out. I mean, it's amazing just by doing that. Now, is he sitting there and pushing those out? He's not. The entire team is working on doing that. But yes, can you predict what you can push out as your organization in the next 3 days? Yeah. Because I can guarantee you this week, there's a dozen more going up in the sky, and so will be next week, right? Like That's amazing. And a lot of people hate that, right? They don't like that. They don't want that. Just because they can't execute. I'm not either side. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But you and I are entrepreneurs. We get paid for the results. I think that's how we started. And how do we generate those results? Execution. Like, got to keep going, even if we're not ready, even if it's not perfect. Like you said, just got to keep pushing stuff out there. And I don't know. I just feel like he would be the guy that I would want to meet.
There you go. Well, let's see. We'll tag him in the comments when we throw it up on X later. And you just never know, dude. He might see it. He might listen to someone we're connected in. You just don't know. You got to put it out there, right? Just keep trying, right? And just keep putting it out there.
Agreed.
And we'll see what happens. Man, you gave a good word and I appreciate it. I won't add anything to it because I think you said it all very well, very succinct, which just shows your expertise and knowledge and where you are, man. So thank you so much for coming on and joining me today.
Absolutely, Neil. Thanks for having me. You're amazing.